Before I display any slides, let me ask a question. How is everybody right now? Are we all present? Are we still in some coronavirus turmoil? How's everyone?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, I flip in and out, and it's actually good practice for managing my emotions because they go just whacked out whenever I walk by a television set. And then I have to bring myself back to know that my being anxious and agitated isn't helping. So
Right,
I'm good now.
We have a little practice that we use to take us down into our heart space and get us centered. And that is we practice making the sound of Om together. We do that now. Let's begin by taking 3 conscious breaths. And with a deep in-breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
I think if we can all do that without coughing, we don't have the virus.
We hear.
Here we are in our heart space. Let me bring up my share screen. Here we go. Here we are in second tier circle on Sunday, April 5th. We're going to close, by the way, at 10:50, not 10:05. So we'll have about 10 minutes to prepare to listen to the sermon today. Well, folks, we're off on a new topic. And here's the book I'm using, No Religion, by a Buddhist monk called Buddhadasa Bikkhu. And there he is. Buddhadasa Bikkhu, born in 1906, and he died in 1993. We're going to jump into the preface of this book. There's some things we need to know about Buddhadasa. Buddhadasa sincerely believes that world peace is possible. And by the way, this is a talk that he gave quite a while back, and we'll see when it was. And this book was written when he was still alive. Buddhadasa Bikkhu sincerely believes that world peace is possible if humanity would only conquer the selfishness, which is the cause of all our conflicts and troubles. Our selfishness. Moreover, he insists that the world's religions are the most important vehicles for propagating unselfishness. That's interesting. The title of his book is No Religion. He insists that the world's religions are the most important vehicles for propagating unselfishness. So we start with a bit of a paradox. In this book, he digs into the heart of selfishness, namely attachment to I and mine, and points to the unselfish remedy. In our second tier circle, we've often talked about I and mine and the tyranny of I and mine, how it can sometimes mislead us. Buddhadasa goes 100 times deeper. A beautiful man. We hope that readers will find it useful in their own spiritual lives and in our common search for a lasting peace. No Religion was originally a talk given to a Bangkok Buddhist group in 1967. The Venerable Ajahn assumed that his audience was familiar with the principle of not self. Notice the interesting way that they refer to him, the Venerable Ajahn. I think Ajahn is an honorific. It's like we might say, Your Holiness. Assumed his audience was familiar with the principle of not self. However, this may be unfamiliar to non-Buddhist readers. So let's take a look at not self. So we're prepared for the background consciousness into which he spoke. From the highest to the lowest forms and phenomena of nature, nothing can be found which is truly a self. That is, a lasting, separate, individual being. Nothing can be found which is truly lasting, separate, individual being. We've talked about how all things that we experience with our senses are ephemeral to some extent. They come and go. They seem separate, but through our spiritual practices, we can lose that sense of separation. And in the consciousness to which he spoke, nothing can be found which is truly a self, lasting, separate, individual being. All things except Nibbana, and Nibbana is the Thai word for what we call nirvana. All things except Nibbana are transient. Everything is transient. According to the astrologers, even our sun came and one day will go. Conditioned by our experience of them. Some things are hot, some are cold, some we like, some we don't like. Conditioned, inherently unstable. It's part of the makeup of things and liable to decay. Thus, everything that we experience with our senses is not self and void of inherent selfhood. Everything is not self. Although this fact isn't explained in the talk, there are numerous examples which should help readers to deepen their understanding of this key aspect of reality from the Buddhist perception of reality. Any questions? Good. All right, so we talked about not self. Furthermore, the central religious term in Thailand, as in much of Southeast Asia, is Dhamma, or Dharma. We may have heard this word used before. Let's review what it means. Dhamma is nature, natural law, duty, truth. Dhamma, natural law, the way things naturally are, and the way we must live so that things don't become problems for us. We say that we access our Dhamma, our Dharma, by looking inside and letting our Christ nature guide us. That's the way we look at Dhamma or Dharma. Sometimes when we let our minds go back and forth and try and figure out what we should do, we might get misled. But if we go deep inside and do what is ours to do, what comes up for us is ours to do, that's Dhamma, acting according to natural law, which is our ultimate duty and is ultimate truth. All right, so those are the things we need to know before we get into the text about not self, the things we experience are not self, and what Dhamma is. Dhamma or Dharma. It's our natural self, which we can access if we don't try. It comes when we don't try. It comes up naturally. All right, questions before we begin the actual text here.
So is Dhamma an individual thing, or is it a generic everybody thing? I think of Dharma as, I guess, what is ours to do individually, the life path for our lives. Now, I could be incorrect there. That's just what's floating around in my head. But the not self thing sounds like it's, if it's not self, it's not personal. It's universal.
Yes, it's let go and let God, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think we're in charge. And when we can, as we said in our last session, can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? So it's in our mind that we sometimes try and figure out what's ours to do. And yet when we let what's ours to do come up naturally, that's Dhamma. And yes, you could say that Dhamma for you and Dhamma for me might show up as different things for us to do, and that's natural, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think Dhamma is, as you've pointed out, is allowing what is ours to do, to come up for us, and to recognize the difference between trying to figure things out and just knowing this is the path I need to take. Sometimes, for me, when I'm trying to decide on some issue, somebody wants me to do something, and maybe in the family, and I'm resisting it, I have to sleep on it and give it some time, because when my mind goes over the pros and cons of it, I just don't come to a resolution that I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have the patience to wait until what's mine to do comes up, even if my mind finds fault with it and disagrees, I can move forward with confidence that I'm doing what's mine to do. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions before we proceed into the text itself? Here we go, no religion. I have a number of slides to get through today, and we may or may not get through all of them. But at the end, you will have a clear idea what no religion is. So here's the Buddha speaking. I intend to speak only about the most essential matters, he told this group of Buddhist monks. If you don't listen carefully, you may find it difficult to follow. So he's very careful with his words. I intend to talk about no religion. If you find the subject strange, he told them, please take the time to think it over. But remember, it isn't necessary to believe or subscribe to what I say right away. So right away, he's addressing our mind and our intellect, saying it's not necessary to listen to our minds or intellect and believe or subscribe, rather just to be present. When we meet together like this, I feel there is something which prevents us from understanding each other. And this can be true for us as well today, sitting here in second tier circle. Something which prevents us from understanding each other. And this thing is simply the problem of language itself. Language itself. How things are said with one meaning and heard with a different meaning. He's going to go into this in a particular way. You see, he says, there are two kinds of language. One is the conventional language that ordinary people speak, what I call people language. And my friends, I think this is what we speak most of the time. People language is used by ordinary people, like you and me, who don't understand Dhamma very well. Well, maybe we're more in touch with our Dhamma than some others. So maybe we're a little further along the path. But we possibly know some people who don't understand Dhamma very well and who stick with what he calls people language. And it's also used by those worldly people who are so dense that they are blind to everything but material things. We may have people in our own family who are very much attached to material things. I know I do. So attached to material things that the loss of a material thing would be devastating. And not only devastating, but threaten the way an individual is or thinks of themselves, or their fundamental sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
Some people associate material things with their deepest sense of well-being and security, and also associate material things with their need for respect from others. Feeling that if they lost those material things, they would lose the respect and the admiration, and probably most important, lose the love of others from not having some material things. He calls these people...
That is, Steve, that's so appropriate right now. We hear these discussions of either isolate and try to get the virus to stop, or go back to being in the economy to prevent suicides. And apparently I've been told that the number of suicides in a situation like this are astronomical. And that's what you're saying, that people are identifying just with their materiality, and there isn't anything left when that's gone.
Yes. So for those people, perhaps part of the issue is they only know how to use what he calls people language. Worldly people use people language, ordinary people use people language, and only with people language, perhaps some deeper insights or realizations are not available. Let's go on. Any other comments or questions before I go on to a different kind of language here? Then there is the language which is spoken by those who understand reality or Dhamma, who are in touch with their inner Christ consciousness, who are in touch with that inner sense of inner reality, of feeling, and have used it and acted on it. Especially those who know and understand reality in the ultimate sense. A language which is spoken by those who understand reality, and then at a higher sense, especially those people who know and understand reality in the ultimate sense. So there's like a progression of this understanding reality from just understanding the Dhamma and who understand it in the ultimate sense. This is another kind of language. Sometimes when only a few words or even just a few syllables are uttered, the ordinary listener finds Dhamma language paradoxical, completely opposite to the language he speaks. For example, the title of this book or talk, No Religion, the ordinary listener might find paradoxical, maybe we do now, and maybe opposite to the language that we speak. We can call it Dhamma language. We must always take care to recognize which language is being spoken. To illustrate the importance of language, let's consider the following example. Language versus Dhamma language. Ordinary, ignorant, worldly people are under the impression that there is this religion and that religion, and that these religions are different. So different that they are opposed to each other. Well, maybe in a sense, we have been guilty of being ignorant of some things, being ordinary and worldly, looking at this religion and that religion, seeing the differences, and seeing that religions are opposed to each other. Some of us come from different religious traditions here in Unity and may see that our Unity religion is totally different than the one we came from, and in some sense opposed to it. We certainly see in our national dialogue that there are politicians who hold that those who believe non-Christian religions, Islam in some cases, Judaism in other cases, are just totally different from us in our way of thinking, and that we, through our religions, are opposed to each other and the religions. are opposed to each other. Does this ring a bell for anyone?
Well, I remember when I was growing up Catholic, our catechism talk was only Catholic people would go to heaven, everyone else was going to hell. And I think even as a child, I realized that my best girlfriend was Jewish, and that couldn't be true. So that's what we were taught then.
Yes. And I believe in other religions, something similar is taught. And I think that if we were to observe someone in the Muslim tradition, for example, talking in a way like that, that would amplify our feeling that that religion is different and is opposed to ours. My goodness, in the Middle Ages, the Protestants and the Catholics were killing each other. Two variants of the Christian religion were opposed to each other. Let's go on. Such people speak of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, and so on. Ordinary people consider these religions to be different, separate, and incompatible. Why? Why is that? He has an answer. He has an answer. Why do ordinary people consider these religions to be different, separate, and incompatible?
Lack of knowledge and understanding of those different religions.
Lack of knowledge and understanding, yes. Anything else?
Focus on self.
Focus on self. Well, you segue into what he's going to say. These people think and speak according to their personal feelings. They inject their personal feelings into their consciousness of religions and thus turn the religions into enemies. So there's his insight. When we speak and think according to our personal feelings, we can turn religions into enemies. We can observe this in the national dialogue, how people demonize other religions. And if you look deeply, there's something very personal feelings going on underneath that demonization. We in Unity, of course, don't believe that. My goodness, we had the Turkish school part of our campus for so many years and participated in their annual celebrations and have gone down into interfaith meetings down in the mall. So this is not really part of the Unity tradition, is it? It's also why here in Second Tier Circle, as part of the Unity, we're talking about some aspects of Buddhism. Because of this mentality, there come to exist different religions, which are hostily opposed to each other. And over history, we've seen this. How in the name of a religion, people go to war, hostily opposed. Those who have penetrated to the essential nature of religion, in other words, gone beyond one's personal feelings, penetrated to the essential nature of religion, will regard all religions as being the same. This is what he says, and he's a devout Buddhist. All religions as being the same, although they may say there is Buddhism, Judaism, Taoism, Islam, or whatever. They will also say that all religions are inwardly the same. All religions are inwardly the same. We've seen this in our second tier circle as we've looked at Hinduism. We see so many parallels with the essence of Christianity and the unity movement. Inwardly the same, come from the same root. I'm reminded that at the time Jesus was alive and preaching, was there Christianity as a religion at that time in people's consciousness? It's a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
So Jesus was wandering around teaching. At that time, did people think that, Jesus is the exemplar of Christianity? And he was a devout Jew and believed in the tenets of Judaism and in the commandments, but he came to shine new light on what had already been written. It was only later, after the time of St. Paul, when the teachings of Jesus spread into the Greek-speaking world, that they came to call that Christianity. The same thing is true of Islam. When Muhammad was teaching, did people think that they were Muslims? No. No. And actually, Muhammad was greatly influenced by Judaism and Christianity. There were plenty of Jews and Christians in Arabia at the time of his life, and he knew them. That is why Islam derives from Judaism and Christianity, doesn't it? All having Father Abraham as the original patriarch. It was only later on that people called the people who followed Muhammad to be Muslims.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is, good morning, everybody.
Hi, welcome.
My question is that even though I feel maybe that I have penetrated the religion, and I believe that no matter which way you might practice religion, we are practicing towards the same power, right? But then again, even though I believe that, I still will not be, I wouldn't want to be practicing religion with the other religions. I think that I want to stay with with unity because of the way how they practice it. Does that mean that because my sentiment or unity itself has a sentiment in the landscape of this what we call practicing religion?
What I hear you saying is, and by the way, you're very welcome. I'm glad you joined us today.
Thank you, thank you. A little late, I challenge with Zoom.
Good old Zoom. What I hear you saying is that you have a personal preference for a particular approach to religion, and it's very comfortable for you. It satisfies your inner need. And at this point, you don't see how any other tradition would work as well for you or be as satisfying or might even not work for you at all. Is that what I hear you saying?
Correct.
It reminds me of what Satchidananda said, our teacher we studied for so long. He said, paths are many, but truth is one.
Right.
Paths are many, truth is one. We should follow the path that feels natural and open for us. And at the same time, can we look upon others who are following a different path and view them in our consciousness with these qualities? Respect. Can we respect that the path for them is the right path for them?
Correct.
Can we treat them in a spirit of generosity and be glad that they are in the path that they are in and it's serving them well? Respect, generosity. Can we also look at them in our consciousness of the spirit of compassion? Compassion for who they are, the shoes they're walking in, which are not our shoes, and have compassion for who they are, perhaps doing their best in the life that's been given to them.
Mm.
Does that help you with the question that you asked?
A little bit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A little bit?
Yeah, because I'm still thinking that even though, well, I'm taking the slide that you had before when it said when you penetrate the religion, and I still, even though I have penetrated it, but still I wouldn't consider practicing it in a different way that I'm doing now. However, there is concept from the others that I would agree with, but still I wouldn't practice it with them. So I guess I still have my sentiment involved in my selection.
Well, good, I got it. And what I hear you saying is much of your outlook has to do with you and about you and your sense of who you are as being perhaps different or separate from others. And we're going to be talking about that I sense, mind sense in this series. That's the particular sense that he wants to loosen up a little bit and have us learn to step back from. The first thing one can do to step back a little bit from one's own preferences and what really suits each of us individually is, just as I described, to be happy with the path we've chosen and glory in it and be grateful for it and proud of it, while at the same time being in total respect for paths that others have chosen. That's right for them. Treat them with great generosity of spirit. Step outside of ourselves and step outside of our own needs and look at those people with great compassion, being where they are in life. So we hold ourselves in one light and hold others in a different light. And actually, when we learn to practice, and this is what Jesus talked about, I'm talking about loving others. When we learn to practice loving others in this way, it turns out that we actually experience a greater love for ourselves, a side benefit, greater love for ourselves exactly as we are. So there you have it.
Good.
Does that get a little closer to the direction you're heading?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thank you.
All right. What a great question. Thank you so much. Perfect. Well, we have 10 more minutes to go, and I think we're actually going to get to the point where we can look at what no religion means. Here we go. However, he says, those who have penetrated to the highest understanding of Dhamma, or maybe Christ consciousness, the truth, duty, the way things are, to those who have penetrated to the highest understanding. And we know that perhaps sometimes we have to step back from our own minds to really understand all things. That would be the highest understanding of Dhamma. Will feel that the thing called religion doesn't exist at all. So this is a promise that he makes. Perhaps we as ordinary worldly people haven't gotten there yet, but he opens it up for something to aspire to. We might aspire to penetrate to the highest understanding of Dhamma, truth, duty, the way things are, so that we will feel the thing called religion doesn't exist at all. And now he's going to explain that a little bit. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These contents we may need to go over them more than once for them to sink in. Huh? Thing called religion doesn't exist at all. I'll share something with you right now. Years ago, I spent some time in Lebanon at the American University of Beirut. And one of the wonderful experiences I had there is I made some friends. Friends are very important in that culture. So a group of friends saw me as a brand new student, and they adopted me to be part of their group of friends, and I loved it. Anyway, I found out later that these friends, some were Christian and some were Muslim. And I noticed a very strange thing. There was one fellow who was very dark, and anyway, he was a Christian fellow. I thought, that's interesting. It sort of looked like what I thought a Muslim might look like. And there was another fellow, a friend of mine, his name was Fawaz. He had blonde hair and blue eyes, and he was a Muslim. So within my friends, there was no religion. They were just friends, just people. That's my experience of no religion. Religion didn't exist. All right, so let's see. What do we need to go to feel that religion doesn't exist at all? So that there is no Buddhism, there is no Christianity, there is no Islam. How can they be the same or in conflict when we come to the deeper understanding that they don't even exist? It just isn't possible. So when I remember my friends in Lebanon, I just didn't experience any conflict or difference. In my experience of them, religion didn't exist. Didn't exist. Now, maybe they were very devout people. We were all students. Sometimes in life, we walk away a bit from our religious traditions as students and then return to them later on. But anyway, that was my experience.
So there is a possibility that when we are in the frame of friendship, we accept everybody as they are, but when it comes to the field of religion, that's when the situation becomes a little bit touchy. That's more likely, that is how I see it, you presented it.
I like to think that if my Christian friend, his name was Samir, invited me to one of the Orthodox Christian churches that his family is subscribed to, I would go there with great curiosity and a sense of total respect for everyone there and the experience that I was having. I also like to think if my friend Fawaz took me to the mosque to pray, that I would have the same experience of, my goodness, how beautiful the traditions, the beautiful temples, and how lucky I am to be able to experience this thing that's so special to my friend Fawaz. I like to think that, although none of us were much into religion at that time. Let's push on here. Thus, the phrase no religion is actually Dhamma language at its highest level. So if we talk no religion to ordinary people, they might think we're not in their ballpark. But amongst ourselves now, we can recognize that no religion is Dhamma language at its highest level, meaning our religion is not the essence of who we are. It's just one of the things that we do, and it's one of the things in our individual consciousness, but it's not who we truly are. Whether it will be understood or not is something else, depending on the listener, and has nothing to do with the truth or with religion, true religion. These are deep lessons, teachings we've gone over today. It may be we need to hear some of these more than once, right?
Yes.
These are deep lessons to sink in. And of course, the text is going to go much, much further. Any other comments or questions before we close today?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, my friends, let's take 3 conscious breaths together. And with a deep in-breath, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
So the ladies are well protected here, right?
Yes.
See you in the worship.
Yes.
Okay,
Any
Be well, everyone.
good one.
final comments before we close? We'll just wave goodbye.
Good one.
Very good.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thanks, Steve.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.